So the parsha speaks about the Metzora. Page 616. The pasuk is towards the bottom. It says, "What happens if someone becomes a Metzora?" So it says, pasuk mem. First thing is mem hey v'hatzarua 45 v'hatzarua asher bay hanega, that has a nega begadav yiu firumim, so his clothing should be ripped. V'roisha yeh farua, and his hair is grown long. He's a little bit like a mourner. Safam yata. These are three things which a mourner also does. V'tame tame yikra, and also they call out in front of him tame tame, that he's tame and everyone should stay away from him, because he has he has a level of tuma that he now has to be. We'll see that what happens. He has to go out of the camp. That's the next pasuk. Kol yemei hanega, boy. All the days that he has this affliction on him. Yitma tamehu. Yitma, he will make tame, because he is tame. He will make someone contaminated, and therefore badad yeshev michutz lamachane. He has to sit outside the machane badad. What's badad? Badad means, what is badad? Remember the word badad? We have it on, I'll give you a hint, we have it on Tishu B'Av.
Reclining, low?
We say this in part of the song.
Where does it say this? Badad?
Yeah, in Pasuk Mem Vav. Tamehu, he'll be Tame. Badad Yeshev Michutz.
Badad Yeshev. Yeshev. Badad Yeshev.
He sits low? No, I don't know.
He'll sit
by himself.
Chutz Lama, outside of the camp.
So we have it in Eicha. Eicha Yashva Fadad. Did you lay
isolation?
Isolation. So that's the words, right?
Okay.
Eicha Yashva Vadad. So it makes sense here.
Isolation.
So he sits in isolation here. Same thing. And he sits alone. Rashi brings down, one idea is that he caused people to be separated. He spoke Lashon Hara, so he separated friends, so therefore he has to sit alone. And therefore he has to sit Michutz LaMachane. What does it mean, Michutz LaMachane?
Outside of the camp.
Which camp?
Camp, his tribe or something?
So the camps, now that we know, when they had the Mishkan, there were three camps. There was Machane Shechina, there was the camp of the divine presence. There was Machane Levia, the camp where the Kohanim were. And then there was the camp of the Jews, the Israelim.
Who was in camp Shechina?
The camp of Shechina was...
Who went to camp Shechina? That's no, but...
That was only, that was just the Mishkan. Just, that was the holy...
Nobody lived there, like...
Right.
No person lived there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, on here he says that they had to be sent out of the camp, and Rashi says, 3 lines from the bottom on the second column, which camp did the Metzora have to be sent out of? So Rashi says, Shalosh Machanes.
Third one. All three.
All three. All three Machanos he had to be sent out. He had to sit alone. It wasn't enough to leave the base of it, the Mishkan or the Machanav, the Leviim. He had to be separate, alone. And therefore he had to be even out of the Machana of the Israelim. And the truth is, it's also a clear pasuk, which is a mitzvah.
That's got to be quite a distance. I mean, you're talking 600,000 to 2 million people in one Vayikra. That's a lot of exercise.
There is still visible distance. We want to make sure he's fine.
Yeah. So okay, fine.
Yeah, it's visible.
It could take days. What about all the people he's going to be going between just to get outside, to be chuzla, the camp?
Miriam was put outside.
Miriam was also put outside. I want to show you something. Look at page 750, and I want to show you, this is brought up, this whole idea is it's a mitzvah, page 750, where it's in Bamidbar, Parshas Naso, where it restates this mitzvah on the bottom Perek Hay, and it says again what to do.
Purification of the camp.
It says here, you see,
There it was he has to take himself, no? And here it's
well, it's actually,
no?
it says v'yishalchu, right? Look at pasuk beis. Tzavas b'nei Yisrael v'yishalchu, they shall send out, they shall expel min ha'machaneh.
How was it here?
Oh, come on.
Here it just said he shall sit outside of the camp.
Right, so one is more active and one is more
Well, it's probably understood too, correct me if I'm wrong, that, if you have a kahila of that size, and, the chances of, various excretions or various things that would make somebody tameh, that you might have a camp set up outside the camp for those people who can't be in the camp. You know what I mean? In other words, a camp for people with tsaras, a camp for tzaras, a camp for people, right, who are tameh. Am I right? Or
So I don't know if you.
I mean, in other words, they're not just sitting under a tree out in the wilderness.
Well, it wasn't called a camp.
Okay, it's not called a camp, but you know what I'm saying.
Isolated
There must,
people.
you probably had, maybe at any one time you could have had a few hundred people.
Yeah. Yeah. See, so it's interesting. We have
but
to see.
wasn't there a whole big thing about not to embarrass anybody? When it says when the men wanted to go to war, they wouldn't say, okay, who?
Yeah, sure.
They did as something, so there's no embarrassment. So how could it be that they could have a camp? Okay, you guys who had a Seminole mission last night, you're good. Like it's a bullshit.
No, but it-
No, so we'll have to see.
Point, because he spoke Lashon Hora can embarrass somebody.
Yeah, so there's different
that's
people.
Visibility that everybody sees that he is.
Yeah,
Also,
there's
it's a
different
malady
people. We
that-
have to see.
It's not like it's someone's charge. In other words, like if I think you've done something, I could say you did, but how do I know? It's my word against your word. But if a person has tsaras, they actually have it. You can see it.
Okay.
So it's not like an embarrassment in the sense that it's there for everyone to see. So you have to leave. In other words, it's a reality.
Okay,
It's not.
for that affliction, yeah.
No, so the truth is, there were 3 levels, right? Look at the verse, pasuk beis. Tavas beis v'yishalchem min ha'machaneh kol tzorua, anyone who's a Metzora, right? Page 750, pasuk, right? It's the second to bottom line.
Yeah.
Any Metzora has to leave the camp. V'chol zav, any zav, anyone who has any mission has to leave. V'chol tameh, and anyone who became impure,
Corpse, yeah.
someone who's dead, he has to leave. Mizachar ad nekeva, whoever it may be, a man, a lady, tishalechu, they have to be sent out of the camp to shalchom, v'layetamu, and they shall not make anyone else impure. That's machaneim asher ani sholchem b'socham. Now Hashem is among us, so we don't want to have these people in that camp. And the Jews did that, like Moshe commanded. Now, Rashi says here that although it says you should send everyone out, but if you see the first column, the bottom line, min ha'machaneh, so there Rashi says, shalosh machaneus hayu. There were 3 camps, b'shas Chanielson, when they encamped. Toich ha'kloim, there was one camp which was in the kloim, in the curtains, which means that there was in the Mishkan had kloim which surrounded it. So that was Machaneh Shechina. In the Mishkan, that was the first camp of the divine presence. Chadias HaLeviim, Saviv. Around them were the Leviim, Moshe and all Leviim. They were around the Commission Meforish B'Parshas B'Midbar Sinai. As we'll learn in Parshas B'Midbar, that there was 3. There was the middle. There was the 3 formations. There was the middle, where Moshe was in the middle, and then there was the Shechina in the middle. Around the Shechina, around the Mishkan, was the Leviim, and around the Leviim were all of the Jews. So that was the formation of how they encamped, and that was the same thing. Right now that we're saying over here, there were 3 camps, and on this he says, "Umisham v'atzoif ha'machane," and from there till the end of the camp of the Degalim of all the flags, l'chol arba haruchos, on all 4 sides. Right here was, let's say, in the middle is the Mishkan, around them is the Levium, and around them, all around, was the Jews.
Like a dartboard sort of thing. It's like there's concentric circles, yeah?
Right. Now, Rashi then tells us, but we divide up who gets sent out of where. Hatzorua, the Metzora, second column, second line down, in the end of the line. Hatzorua nishtaleach chutz lekulan. The Metzora was sent out of all 3 camps. Hazav muter b'machane Yisrael. this answers your question. The Zav wasn't sent out of all three camps. He just was sent out of the Mishkan and sent out of the camp of the Levi. But he was allowed to be among all the Israelim.
Oh.
And someone who was...
That's a big...
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Right. They were very different.
Wow.
And there's someone who was Tameh. So
But what if you are Israel? So were you?
I mean, so you're just saying if you're a Kohen or a Levi, you would be put out to the camp Yisrael.
If what?
Yeah, but that's only if he's
You're
Levi
a
or a Kohen.
Right. Or Levi
He's
would be
Israel
If you're Israeli and you had a tzav,
Yeah.
where would you go?
Yeah.
Ukraine.
No, but he couldn't go into. He couldn't. He
You couldn't
walk
go into the
He couldn't bring
Levian camp or the
He
Shekhinah.
couldn't bring any
Right.
any carbon.
But he could stay in his own.
Right.
Basically, he could stay in his own.
Right.
Which is still visible because they probably were bringing carbons there quite often, personal ones.
That's just my
If he
question.
cannot,
where
it's
they
also
went.
visible.
And the Tameh, someone who was Tameh, so he was sent out of only the camp of the Shekhinah, of the Divine Presence, but he was allowed to be in the Levi's camp.
That's
Right.
basically-
That's basically again no carbonas.
Right.
Basically, for all intents and purposes, they weren't sent out.
Right. The Tameh.
Metzora.
I mean, according to Rashi, that's
Right.
what if I reading it.
Right.
You're reading it.
He
I mean,
didn't. Right. If unless he was a Levi, the
Levi would be sent out to the Yisrael camp.
Right.
But basically, nobody.
For Metzora, he cannot work in the Mishkan.
Yeah,
Either
this-
Kohen or Levi, he couldn't.
The Tameh
work.
wouldn't be
He
sent
was
out at
staying.
all, and the Zav would be sent out only if he was a Cohen or Levi to the Israel camp.
Right.
If you're Israel, you would stay.
Right.
Yeah, but he cannot bring any carbonas. So
I understand, but it answers his question about like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you're segregating people?
Well, you're still segregating him because, as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure that people were bringing their carbonas and pretty much with such a madrega on a daily basis, and you see that he cannot bring.
Yes.
It's noticeable.
No,
Now,
for sure it's noticeable. Nobody, yeah.
No, I don't think people are bringing every family bring carbonas every day. I don't think.
No, but-
that's
Not necessarily, but maybe quite often. Maybe you're.
You would bring it for. You would
First
bring it
of all,
for.
you have everything. You have
bring it
money,
for-
you have
for the
cows,
many
you have everything, and you
reasons you
don't
would
need
have
them.
to.
And you don't need them. Actually, very interesting part, technically speaking, in the desert, right? They had food, they had clothes never worn out, food they had. In addition, they had money from Egypt, and they had all the cows and everything from Egypt as well. What they're going to do with them? You don't need to milk them because you have all the food. You just basically keep having them. Okay, you bring them to Israel, but for 40 years, none of the cow are going to live that long. So what you really have the cows and the money to bring to the Mishkan, because otherwise, what are you going to do with it? Cook it? You have a food. Like, I don't think they really cooked it and everything, so they really were suited for carbonas. For this case,
Could have been.
it is very possible that if I have nothing to do with it, it's a good cow, and I know what I'm going to keep. In addition, I can give it to Hashem and bring a carbon, and it's a good, me being a good citizen. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
if I have many
sure.
of them, why not on a weekly
be.
basis?
Okay, so now let's go to this week's Haftorah. This week's Haftorah, we're going to speak about this mitzvah of going out of the camp. Let's turn to the back, Parshas Metzora, which is page 1172.
Do this.
11.
Pretty tricky if you're going to the Haftarah. Who would have thought that we should have pre-read the Haftarah?
Got to be prepared.
Sorry, what
Well,
page?
1172. So here is a story with Elisha
Kings.
in Kings, and Elisha said, it was a whole story, a fascinating story back and forth. There was a big hunger. But what we're going to concentrate is the first pasuk. It says, "Ve'arba anoshim hayu." You see 1172?
Yep.
It says, right, you got it?
Oh, four men.
There were 4 men, hayu mitzoraim, and they were mitzoraim
Yeah.
in the Pesach Hashar. They were by the gate, by the opening of the gate. Vayarmu Rishal Riyeu. And they were talking to each other. But the question is, where were they sitting? They were Pesach Hashar. They were by the outside of the gate, by the opening of the gate, which means that they were outside of the 3 cities, right? They were outside of the 3 camps, and they were by the opening of this gate. Where was they, by the way? What city was this? So,
Yerushalayim, I think.
No, it was not Yerushalayim. I don't think so.
Oh yeah, that's right, because that's Israel. That's not
Right,
Judea.
well, we'll
It's
have
after
to see.
the split. It's after the split.
So if you look a little
After
down,
the split.
I'll show you where it is. What? Yeah, if you look, it's going to say that they were in the city of Shomron. They were in the city of Shomron. It's a certain city here. I think you'll see it.
Yeah, that's Israel. That's from tribe of.
So the question here is, right? That's a city. We'll call it Shomron. Yeah, because I don't see it right here, but that was the name of the city. So the question is first, what happens to a Metzora once the Beis Hamikdash is built? Once the Beis Hamikdash was built, so now, where does a Metzora go? Where does the Zav go, and where does the Tameh go? Right? They have to be sent out of the camp. How far is that of the camp?
Well, they were right by the gate.
So which gate?
Well, there's the
Yeah,
Beit HaMikdash would be
yeah,
considered the Machana Hashem, the
Okay.
Shekhinah.
Good.
And the Kohanim were still around that part of the Beit HaMikdash to serve. And
Yeah.
Yeah, but here
But is that called Machane Levi? Where was that?
It's
I don't know,
not
because
in
they were coming in
Yerushalayim.
different ships.
Yeah, they came from all over the
Yeah.
place.
It's not in Yerushalayim. So they are.
So I'll tell you, there's a Mishnah in Kalim. The Mishnah is Kalim. It's all about Kalim, which are Tameh and Tahar, and they touch different things. So in the first parak, it says the following Mishnah Vav. It says that there were 10 levels of holiness. The holiness speaks about in Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael was the holiest land of all the lands. We know that Eretz Yisrael is the most holy, and the way that we see it is because we bring the fruits, the bikurim, we bring the first fruits only from a land, from somewhere in Eretz Yisrael. We don't bring first fruits from Florida. So that's the proof that Eretz Yisrael is so holy, because where do we bring bikurim and also the omer? We spoke about bringing a carbon omer that we brought on the second day of Pesach. They cut it off. Where did they cut it off from? From somewhere in Eretz Yisrael. So this is what the Mishnah says. These are the proofs that the Eretz Yisrael was the holiest of the lands. Now, the Mishnah continues. By the way, we brought a different carbon, which we're going to bring on Shavuos, called the Shtei Halechem, the 2 loaves. That was also brought from Eretz Yisrael. Now, let's go further. It says, what about these cities which were Mukafos Choma? They had a wall around them. So we know there's a difference between the walled cities and the unwalled cities. So the walled cities, they are holier than the unwalled cities. That's what the Mishnah says. And since they are more holy, the walled cities, like for example, Yerushalayim was one case where it was walled, and the walled means from the times of when did they lock in to look at that time? Do they have a wall or not?
From
Yeshua ben Nun.
Right.
Yeah.
We look. That's the time when it got locked in. If they had a wall in the times of Yeshua ben Nun, that's called a walled city. If you build a wall today, that doesn't make it a walled city today. And vice versa, if you have a city that used to be walled in the times of Yeshua ben Nun and today it doesn't have a wall, but it already locked in as a walled city. So those cities are more holy. And the idea is because when they came in, maybe Yeshua gave it kedusha. As everywhere where he went, it locked in that their kedusha came in when they conquered Eretz Yisrael. So the Mishnah says that they send out the Metzora from any walled cities. Right? The answer is, where does the Metzora get sent out of? So we'll see. He for sure gets sent out of the Beis Hamikdash. He for sure gets sent out of the next step of the wall. He's not allowed, and he's not allowed to be in the walled city. And we'll see a third level. But for now, right, the Machane Shechina, he gets sent out of, right, like you're saying, and the Machane Levi and the Machane Yisrael. So they say over here, this pasuk that we just read, you have to send them out. That means they have to send them out of the walled city. All walled cities have to be, you have to send the Metzora out. Because it says in what we read, Badad Yeshiv, they have to sit alone, Mirchutz Lamachana, outside of the camp. Okay, that's the first thing. Now,
this is only after. Oh wait, he's got to be quarantined until he's called a Metzora, right?
Right.
So. Okay.
Do you want to know what type of Metzora is this talking about? Is that your question?
I didn't know it was, but.
No, because
I didn't know that was my question.
Well, no. So
but he's not considered a Metzora until he's gone through the week and the 7 days, and possibly another 7 days, I think.
Right. So the truth is there's two levels of Metzora until he becomes a confirmed Metzora. Confirmed because he's in doubt. So at first he starts out he's confined. He's confined to a house for 7 days, and we see if any type of tumah sprouts up, any types of affliction. But the truth is, so we're going to go into that a little bit, but it could be it's both. So now, the Mishnah therefore says that when we conquered Eretz Yisrael, so now we have the three camps. Is Yerushalayim is the camp of the Yisrael, so therefore they had to be sent out of, like Yerushalayim, it was a walled city. The actual Temple Mount was like the Azara, that was like the Levi's camp. Mm-hmm. And then we have the actual part of the Shechina, that was the Chotzer, which was what they called the part where the Beis HaMikdash called the Ezras Yisrael. I'll show you a picture here actually. Here. So which means anywhere past this middle blue line, which came into the Beis HaMikdash here, right here was the
courtyard.
Yeah, so here was the Ezos Nashim. That was the first part of the Beis HaMikdash. And right over here by this line was the Ezras Yisrael. So over here already, that was already the he had to be sent out of. Here's the Machaneh Shechina. Right, so the Machaneh Shechina was he couldn't go into anywhere past here, and the Machaneh Levi was all the Harabayas, all of the Temple Mount. Okay, so that was the idea here of how much each person would have to leave. So now let's go into this idea of the. So that's what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says that they had to leave. Each one, it says, has a different level. Harabayas, the Zav, anyone who had an emission, a Nida, a Yoletis, anyone who had a baby, they would, the Zav and they all had to leave the Har Habayis. And then it said the next step was the Chel, the different part, they each went step down. There were 10 levels of holiness. As was Nashim in the Beis HaMikdash, there were a Tamei, Mace had to leave there. As is Yisrael, each step they had to leave. Okay. So based on all this, right, now we have to go to analyze a little bit deeper into this whole idea of the city of Shomron. So if you look at Navi a little bit, the city that, right, we spoke out, the city of the Haftarah is called Shomron. Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing about the city, and I'll show you the words of the pasuk. Take a look how the verse states Shomron. Look at this pasuk here. Ches Zayin Chav Gimel. Take a look at read the pasuk. You could share that together. If you could read it out loud for everyone. You see pasuk Chav Gimel? He's going to read it out loud, and we'll follow from there.
Bishnas from there.
Yes, Bishnas, in the year of the 31st, Shloshim
Achaz Shana, La'asar, Melech Yehuda, Malach Armi.
Oh, so now there's a person called Amri.
He was the king of.
He was the king.
He was the king.
So now, go to the next pasuk. Chav Daled. What happened when Amri became king?
So, Vayiken es Hahar.
So what is Vayikra? Comes from the word to be Kona.
Oh,
To take possession?
Took possession of a mountain.
Right. He took possession of a mountain.
Shomron.
Shomron.
Shomron. Meish Shemer Bechikraim Kesef.
So he bought a mountain called Shomron, or the Har Shomron, from a person whose name was
Shemer.
The person's name was Shemer. How much did he pay? He paid Kikrayim Kesef. He paid a lot of Kesef for it. Okay.
Vayides Har. Vayikra. Hashem Ha'ir. Asher Bana Al Shem Shemer.
So Vayikra Shem Ha'ir. What's that mean?
Vayikra.
What's Vayikra mean?
It's called, no?
It's called.
He called Shem Ha'ir.
Shem Ha'ir. Called to the mountain? No.
No,
Shame. What's a shame?
Name. The
He
name
gave a name
Ha'ir.
of the ear. What's an
It
ear?
doesn't say ha'ir, it says ha'il.
Yeah, no, Ha'ir.
Oh, sorry, it looked like a
It's
lemon
ha'ir.
from the angle. Sorry.
No,
It was
that's
a
the
lemon with
trope there.
Yeah, sorry, it looked like a lemon from the
Ha'ir.
angle.
So an ear means a
City.
city. He called the name of the city Asher Bana,
Bana,
which was Bana.
Bana.
Was
born. He was
Bana.
his sons.
Sons.
Bana? No, that's
His children.
Bana would be his sons, but here it's Bona.
Bona to build.
He called the
How do you
name of
build?
the city Asher Bana, which he built
which he built. Al Shem Shemer.
by the name
On the
of Shemer Adonai Har, who was the master of the Har Shomron. So again, so it says he bought the Har Shomron, and he built it up, and he called the name of the city that he built by the name, after the name of the person who we bought it from. The person who we bought it from, his name was Shemer. Shemer was the master of the mountain that he bought. So because he bought it from this person Shemer, so therefore he named the mountain Shomron. Shomron. Good?
Yeah. So what does this have to do with price of tea in China? Saying goes. This is Kings.
Oh, okay.
This all Kings.
Look like
Yeah. So you hear this I'm giving you here, this pasuk is telling you the background of the city of Shomron. When it was founded, by who, and how it went about.
Right. So in other words, it's not a walled city. Is that the point?
Yes. Brian's already jumping the gun to the point. Straight to the point.
From a heart. It's from a mountain. It was on a mountain.
Well, what Brian said is beautiful. That the pasuk says that there was a king. His name was Omri, and he bought Vayikra. He bought a mountain from a person whose name was Shemer for a lot of money, and
Well, the Shomron after him.
he called it Shomron after him. He built it up. Vayiven, he built it up. He built up the mountain, and he called the name of the city Shomron after the master of the mountain, whose name was Shemer. So that says Brian, beautiful kasha.
Yeah. So what? It says that they were outside the gate. It says at the beginning of the Haftorah.
Outside the gate of which city?
But you're saying Shomron.
I'll tell you Shomron, because the pasuk says you could turn to the pasuk. Here, I'll show you the pasuk, so you'll just see. The pasuk is. If you want to look at the Torah, here we go. Here's the pasuk.
Oh, it says Arami.
Omri. Here, take a look at this pasuk. Here, read Vayomer right here. Vayomer. Read it out loud.
The Omer Elisha, Shimu Devar Hashem.
Listen to the words of Hashem. Kayamar Hashem. This is what Hashem said. Ke'es machar, tomorrow at this time, saw soiles b'shekel. It will cost for an amount of solas of flour. It will cost a shekel, and sasayim sa'orim b'shekel. And if you want a different amount of barley, it will be a shekel. B'shar Shomron. In the gate of Shomron. And this was the idea that we see that they were sitting in Shomron. These four Then the next pasuk says, pasuk Gimel says, "Va'arba anashim," that here were the 4 people who were Metzora, and they were sitting in the gate. So the big question is, why did they have to sit by the gate? The problem is that where did the Metzora have to leave? He had to leave the walled city.
Right.
But Shomron wasn't a walled city. Shomron was built by Omri. Omri was very late. Omri was in the middle of Malachim, right?
Yeah.
When was Yeshua? What time was Yeshua? When did he live?
Shua ben Nun?
Shua ben Nun.
Right after
Moshe.
Well, Moshe Rabbeinu.
After Moshe. Moshe, right? The order, it goes, you got the whole 5 books, and then you have Yeshua. After that comes Shoftim,
Yeah.
Shmuel,
Shmuel.
Shmuel Beis, and then comes Malachim.
So it's quite a while after.
Quite a while after. So it's obvious that this city was not a walled city from the time of Yeshua ben Nun.
ben Nun. Yeah.
So therefore the question is, why did they have to leave the city? They could have stayed in the city. These 4 Mitzoraim in this week's Haftorah.
They don't translate it though here in English. I don't know, maybe it's just not a good translation, but he says that to the amounts, all those amounts, is at the gateway of Samaria.
Okay.
It says at the gateway. Does that mean gates?
Yeah, the Shomron called in English called Samaria.
Yeah,
I know, but it says the gateway.
Yeah, that means they were by the entrance to the city.
Okay.
Samaria, because today if you go, as I said, those territories, the disputed territories, they call Judea and Samaria.
Yeah, right.
But in Hebrew they call Judea and Shomron.
This is Ezra's. Ezra, who's usually at our class, he walks every inch of it.
So the big question is, but why did, if it's true, so why did the 4 lepers have to leave the city of Shomron?
But why do you say the gate if there's no wall or gate?
No, there was a wall. Maybe there was a wall. It could be they built it. Maybe Omri,
But it
the king.
wouldn't
be considered a gated
Wouldn't
city.
be considered.
A walled
It
city.
wasn't
Right.
by Shua ben Nun.
Right. So why did they have to go to the gates? They could have stayed inside. This is the big question that the Radak asks and Rebbe Kiva Eger asks. So Brian, I don't know which one you looked at first, but you did a good
I
job.
always look at Rebbe Kiva Eger.
Rebbe Kiva Eger. Okay, so you did an amazing job. So I'll just tell you an interesting
How do they answer?
How do they answer? This is
Bottom line.
So it's a good point. So Rabbi Kiva Eger says, and the Radak, they both say similar thing. They say, look at the Targum, right? Usually, we have like Onkelos in the Chumash. So in the Navi, there's a Targum. The Targum was written by, who wrote the Targum? Not Onkelos. He was written by one of the Tanoim in the Gemara. His name was Yonasan ben Uziel. Yonasan ben Uziel, he's very famous, up to the point that his grave is a very famous place to visit.
Yes.
In Amuka, right? In Amuka. Ever heard of Amuka? Next time you're in Israel, you'll hear about it.
I've heard of the name.
Yonasan ben Uziel.
Yeah,
so he's the one, he's on the inside of the Navi. He's the Targum. So what he writes there, it's interesting. He says, he puts the following words in. He says that, we read the words that what he bought was a Har Shomron. He bought a mountain of Shomron. So Yonasan ben Uziel substitutes for the word Har, he puts in the word Krach, a city. He says that he bought a city of Shomron, which means, although the pasuk says that he bought a Har, but Yonasan ben Uziel says he bought a city, and he built up the city. He built up the city. He substitutes the word city for a mountain that he had like a license to put in that it was already a city, but Omri bought it and built it even more. He made it more well established. And therefore he named it after the one who had made that, we'll call it partially established city, or I don't know if he made it, but he was the owner, whose name was Shomer.
So how can a Tana trump, as it were, Malachim?
No, so what he's doing is he's explaining what the word really means.
Well,
When the
but the
pasuk-
word says har.
So the word says
We
har.
know what har means.
So
It nowhere does it say ear or krach or whatever the term is.
right. No, it's true. It's a
What's
good
krach?
point.
What is that?
Krach is a city.
Is that no? But is that
Village.
What language is that? That's
Aramaic.
That's Aramaic. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We have it like in Megillah that there's Krachim and there's different types of villages and cities.
Okay.
Now, well, he was coming as Yosef Meziel is like a translation. He's like Onkelos or like Rashi.
Right.
So they weren't coming to translate it literally per se. They're coming to explain the pshat. Sometimes you find that Rashi explains and veers off from the literal meaning of the words. Right? We could look through
Okay.
Chumash. So Yosef Meziel, he was keeping safe to explain that although it says the word har, it really means a village. So, based on this, Rabbi Kiva wants to say that it was really an old village from Yeshua ben Nun's times. But it just happened to be that Omri bought it and fixed it up. And he built it up, and he called it by the name of the one who had been the owner till then, whose name was Shomer. That's what that's Rabbi Kiva. Yeah, it's interesting. You have to see it inside. You have to build up.
So how does he know that? Is that just Masorah? Just
How did Yosef ben
tradition?
Uziel learn it?
Yeah, like how does he know? How does he know that when it says har in Malachim, it means village?
Yeah.
He's calling it a village,
So-
not just some sort of open mountain.
Right. No. So you have to look up the source. But I believe Yosef ben Uziel was written with could be with divine prophecy. We have to check up how he wrote it. Right. Yosef ben Uziel, how he got it.
Possible. Quite a few of them.
So how does the Radak say?
And the Radak says the same thing. Right on the bottom, the Radak says, I'll read you how he says it.
What's the name of the king that bought it? Shomer?
Yes.
It's like a guard, no? Like a
Yeah. Yeah.
same word, right?
Yes. Similar. But that was his name. That happened to be his name. So I'll read you how the Radak says it here. The Radak says also similar. Nira, you see, the Radak says, he quotes Yonah ben Uziel, and he says that he translated the word har to be krach, and on the Radak explained that we see from his words that it was a big city from the beginning. Omri just fortified it. So therefore they called it by his name. But he quotes it, he doesn't even question it because it seemed that Yosef ben Uziel had special divine prophecy. So, and he was alluding to this problem. Maybe Rabbi Kiva says that the Yosef ben Uziel, he was alluding to this problem, that if it would have, like you're bothered by, if it would have been a new city, then they can't say that
They'd be outside the
they'd
gate.
be outside the gate. So this is something to think about.
So why did they stay outside the gates?
No, so it comes out that it really was an old city, back from the times of Yeshua ben Nun.
Oh, so was
It really was an old city.
Oh, so it didn't
But
have a
It
wall,
needed to be
wasn't walled.
It was walled for the times of Yeshua ben Nun.
Yes, it was.
But it needed to be fortified.
When he bought it, it was a
Right.
walled city.
Oh.
That's what they're saying.
Right. And he bought it.
Oh.
It was already many years old. All he did is he bought the city and he fortified it. He made it stronger. That's how Rabbi Kiva and the Radak want to explain
Can I
this.
ask a question, though, that's
Yeah.
maybe not really related, but sort of related?
Yeah.
And that is, it may require a tangent, so I can understand if you win. But why does having the city walled make it holier? Is it just because it's the paradigm is Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim had the base of Mikdash. It was walled, and so therefore all walled cities therefore are holy, or like, in other words, did not Yeshua ben, like, I understand Yeshua ben Nun, okay, from his times, but what about if Yeshua ben Nun went into a city that wasn't walled? Now there he is with his presence. He knew Moshe. I mean, he's ever he.
You want to know what was the significance of the walls?
Yeah, like why? What is it about the? So if Yeshua ben Nun went into a city that had no wall, it wasn't. It didn't have that holiness.
Right. Right.
But why wouldn't it? Because, I mean, what is there in a wall, in the wallness of it? If he was in two cities, one walled and one not walled, why is one holier than the other? If it's because of him and his kedusha and his everything.
So it's a good question. Let's see if we could find the idea here. What the wall, what came with the wall. No, so it seemed that he gave a special holiness to the walled cities. He gave a special holiness to the walled cities, which means everywhere where he conquered became holy on one level, that it would be Eretz Yisrael, and that had the level of holiness number one, that you could bring the Bikurim from that.
Right.
You could bring
again. It could be because of the Jericho, because he destroyed the walls there. They drove. Maybe again it's the same concept with Moshe and water or something. Just giving an atonement that he destroyed the walls. Now he wants the walls for really, warrant a problem there, the defending the people inside, but he was waging the war against the people, not against the wall. Maybe because the way he destroyed with the Hashem's help, maybe he gave confidence.
So the Mishnah says that, it says here in the Mishnah that he gave it a special level of holiness, one level higher. Wherever he went in Israel, that became Eretz Yisrael. That became holy. You could bring Bikurim, you could bring the Omer, you could bring the Shtei Alechem from that produce. But there was a level higher up than plain Eretz Yisrael, and that is that he gave it a special holiness. How it worked, I'm not sure. On the simple level, anywhere where he went, that became Eretz Yisrael. Right. But there was a special holiness that he sanctified it.
So he sanctified it differently than he would a non-walled city.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right. Yes.
I don't want to get on a whole thing about it. I was just curious.
No, but that's what they say. They do say, the Mishnah states this, that it had a special holiness more than unwalled cities in Eretz Yisrael. And because he sanctified it with such a special holiness, the Metzora can't be there. Right? That's what, I'll read you what the Bar Tanura brings this down also. He brings down, Kishakovash Yehoshua, when Yeshua conquered all of the land of Eretz Yisrael, Kiddush Ha'ayaros, he gave a special Kiddush to those cities which were mukafos, which were surrounded with the wall, that they should be a holiness on the level of which level?
Basically.
Well, no, not so high. That's
Rabbi?
No, not that high either. The base of Mikdash is on the level of Machane Shechina.
Yeah, Machane Shechina. Okay, Machane Leviah.
The Harabayas was Machane Leviah.
Oh.
And Yeshua ben Nun, when he came along, he sanctified the walled cities like the level
of Israel.
Of Machane Yisrael. Yes, exactly. So therefore he says, that's why the Jews who were a Metzora had to leave that camp. That's what he says here. Yeah, so it seems that this is, everyone says this. The Bar Tanura, the Rosh, the Rambam, they all.
So if a walled city like Shomer, we've established now, is a walled city, is like Machane Yisrael, but initially Rashi said that who could stay in Machane Yisrael? Or was that the Tzav?
Yeah.
The Zav could stay there. The Tameh. Right.
But the Metzora
had to go out.
Metzora had to be out of all three, because he had to be Badad.
So that makes sense.
Badad. What does Badad mean? He had to sit
in isolation.
So therefore he had to be out of all three. A Tameh, he can't go to the Beis HaMikdash. A Zav, he has to be out of the Machane Levi. But Metzora, he had to be out of all three, because he had to be like a mourner. He sits alone with his head not cut, with the right. No, he doesn't.
Not
cut
necessarily alone, but with other people of the same status, I guess.
So that's another question.
Because it says they were sitting outside together.
That's a big question.
Whether they can or cannot be with others of the same
It is
status.
a very, very big question. Could the Mitzoraim sit together outside of the walled city? Because
do they have to have their own little separate space again?
Or do they have to be 4 amos away from each friend? It's a very big question. And
How did they eat?
and they,
It says here, it says in the Haftorah that they ate and drank.
yeah, they're able to drink. But Irving wants to know, could they be Bada means they have to be alone.
Could they make a minion?
Could they be within 4 amos of each other? Could they
Maybe
be,
they're considered one. Al Mitzorim are considered one.
the question, well, I don't know if there'll be one, but maybe.
No, but like
They
No,
have different.
no.
they could be in isolation from the rest of Israel,
that's-
not
But
from
they all
each
have
other.
different timing. They all have different timing.
No, but when they're there,
But while they're there,
Brian wants to say maybe that's called Bada, that they're isolated from all of the other Jews.
yeah, all the non-Mitzorim.
Or Irving says, no, maybe Bada Yeshiv means each person has to be 6 feet away from his friend.
Yeah.
And I saw that they asked this question, they do ask the question, how did it say that the 4 people were sitting there? It sounds like they were sitting by together.
Right.
So on that they say, well, maybe it could be they were sitting but 4 amos away from each other.
Could be.
That's one.
It's similar to what we
way.
discussed last year when we said that they had to be isolated. We said a mark. They would draw as a red circle or something. You said, or did they have to be isolated like we talked about that last?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That there we spoke about locking up. You have to lock up the nega. So either you lock up the house, or you lock up, or you,
the area.
Right.
Something.
Exactly. Machlokas. We saw Machlokas about that. But here. So on that's one answer they say. Maybe they were sitting far away, or maybe they were going against the law of the Torah.
What's your time?
That's yeah. Okay, these are 2 thoughts to think about because, in truth, they should be isolated from each other. Should be that's the big question he's asking. He says that it's learned out that they should be separated from each other. So he brings
They
down.
have to be Dalet Amos from each other.
I think so. I think that's what they learn out. The Gemara Psachim says that they shouldn't be other Tamei people shouldn't be sitting together. I think so. We'll have to check it out.
But if there was one Metzora that was about to be able to finish his time, or 7 days, or whatever, and another one comes in fresh, like he can't. It probably affects his status. Like somebody that's on the way out as opposed to coming in.
No, it doesn't affect the status. No. He had to wait. But Rashi said that they should be bothered. Why should they be isolated? Rashi said because he separated between someone else by speaking Lashon Hara. He caused people to separate from each other. So he should sit in isolation. So based on that idea that Rashi says in the Parsha, it seems that they should even be separated from each other.
Lashon Hara was the only way somebody would contact the Metzora, right?
That was the main way.
That was the main
way. Also, the stinginess of the eye.
Okay.
Someone who he felt that he was jealous of someone else's good fortune.
Okay.
He also. But the main one was.
Why did they say here that they would die?
Where?
At the beginning.
No, because it's talking that there was a big hunger. So they said they didn't have any food. So they said, we're going to die of hunger. So they hit upon a plan. They said, why don't we go to the enemies, to the other city, and we'll go and beg them for food. And if they give us food, good, so we'll live. And if not, so we'll die. We would have died anyway.
Yeah.
So they went there. And it's a fascinating story how everyone ran away, and it's an amazing story to check out what happened there.
Go ahead.
Okay.